good morning, students. Hope you're doing well. Hope you are at home and absolutely safe and healthy. Today we're going to explore a very beautiful poem, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, and it is written by Adrienne Rich. And I'm sure you'll enjoy, and uh, you'll also be pushed to ponder upon the theme that it revolves around. But before we get into the details of the poem, let's talk about the poem. Because to understand a poem well, you have to also understand the background of the poet and the concept that she's trying to put forth. So Adrienne Rich was a very famous American poet, philosopher, activist, and a writer. And most prominently, she was a feminist by her ideals. By feminist, I mean someone who actually works and fights for the equal rights of women, and someone who fights against gender discrimination. So she was one such woman, and she's celebrated even today for her very influential works of 1970s and 80s, which are very influential, and known for the sharp critique of an unjust, social construct that gave one gender, that is the masculine gender, power and dominance over the other gender. So her poems, her poems explore the dynamics of feminism and the dominance of men over the women. So when I'm using the word patriarchy, I'm sure we are aware of this word. We keep using that. It is basically the dominance of the masculine gender over the feminine gender. It's a concept, which actually shows us what is happening around us, how there's a gender divide, and how one gender is being absolutely oppressed and suppressed by the other gender, that is the masculine gender. So when I talk of feminism and patriarchy, I'm reminded of a few lines by a French writer, Simone de Beauvoir, who says that a woman is not born a woman; she's made into one. And by these lines, I feel that she means that the roles that women are allotted are not by the virtue of them being biologically women, but it's a social construct. The role, the duties, the responsibilities are more and more decided by the societies. It's more of a social more of a social construct. It is highly contradicted if you look around yourself, in Indian household, or even in the Western household. It's a general notion. I'm not saying it happens in our country. It is something that is very, very common. Of course, it has changed greatly. There's a paramount shift that has happened. Household chores, cooking and cleaning, these are works associated, and these are works that have been associated with women. And if you look at our history, you'll find that education was not open to women. They were not considered to be able and apt for being educated. In fact, the society and the parents, they felt that there's no need to get a woman educated. There's no need for her to be educated. Rather, she should remain uneducated, be very meek and feeble, and the man should, of course, be the breadwinner. So he should be educated, and that's how it went on. Of course, we know Sati. How this very, very tragic ritual of Sati. It's actually a blot on our Indian culture. Dowry. It's another blot. And this is nothing but how society actually brings about a sharp divide between the two genders, empowers one and actually takes away all the power from the other gender. uh, Whereas, there is no such concept like the two genders are unequal. No, both the genders are absolutely equal, and you cannot demarcate one work for one gender, another work for another. It all depends how socially, how social constructions that you that you make. To give you a very simple example, a lot of chefs, very popular and renowned chefs, they are men. Isn't that contradicting the fact, that earlier women used to be pushed into the corners of the kitchen, and they were supposed to just prepare the lunch and dinner, take care of the kids, and be confined to their household, be confined to their homes. Um, the hospitality staff that cleans your room and changes the bed sheets when you go and stay in the hotels, are most of them are men. So yeah, this is how patriarchy works, and it is, yeah, of course, it is very, very unfair and very, very, unjust. So, apart from the concept of patriarchy and feminism, many of Adrienne Rich's poems also deconstruct the concept of marriage. And, as feminists believe that marriage should be based on companionship and not any kind of, it should not be like a contract where there is a master who dominates, and the woman has to comply by the norms that a man sets. So, of course, a marriage should be between two genders which are absolutely equal. They believe that they are equal, and of course, uh, you know, um, there should not be any kind of gender discrimination. But this is highly contradicted. Again, if you go back in time, you'll find that marriages have not been very just to both the genders. Um, there is an oppressor and there's the one who's being oppressed, because again, it's a social construct. Again, to give you a very simple example, in the 18s and the 90s, I'm talking of the Western culture. The wedding dresses that the women used to wear, those heavy white gowns. They used to wear corsets underneath their gowns, and these corsets used to be made of um, uh, the bone of the whales. So it's imaginable that these corsets used to be very heavy and very, very suffocating, and of course there was no flexibility because it was made out of bone. So women, to look absolutely perfect and fit into the imagination of a man, into the imagination of a man who would imagine his woman to be absolutely meek, feeble, sweet, and very, very petite, very slim, and visually very appealing. They used to wear those corsets, and those corsets became, a part and parcel of the way the women used to dress up. Um, in America, the American females, they said that, we are going to do away with this kind of uncomfortable, suffocating kind of kind of an attire that female can wear it regularly, the gowns, the corsets, and those very, very uncomfortable kind of attire. And they came up with this kind of revolution which they call the sack revolution. They said we're going to wear clothes that are as loose as sacks. We'll choose comfort over what a man would desire us to wear, and we would not want to be an object of appreciation, and we don't want any kind of validation from the man or the society, so we're going to wear pants. So what they did was they usurped patriarchy and they overturned it, and that's how they actually told the world that yes, patriarchy exists. You have to look around you, you'll find it, and then you have to fight and be empowered, be liberated, and take control of your own life and make your own decisions. So women in India also had they face similar situations. So of course, we do understand that of course this is kind of discrimination between the two genders, and women all over the world are fighting for their rights and fighting for equal opportunities. There's still a long way to go. A lot of concepts, a lot of stereotypes have been broken, but there is still a long way for us to go. There's equality to be sought at workplace, in the entertainment industry, within the household domain, and such like. So there's a long way to go. So with these concepts, the concept of feminism, the concept of patriarchy, the concept of marriage, how it was earlier and how it is has taken a paradigm shift in the contemporary times, but still of course a lot of loopholes which have to be looked into. So with this preamble in your mind, you should be able to analyze and understand and grasp the concept that the poet is trying to put forth for you. I'm sure you'll enjoy the poem because it's interesting and it is very relatable. You can easily understand the poem if you keep the background in your mind. So I request you to open your Flamingo and start reading the poem along with me. Okay, so Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, it was written in 1951. Okay, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz, denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. Aunt Jennifer's fingers, fluttering through her wool, find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. So take a moment's time and try to gauge what the poet is trying to tell us. Okay, so let's look at the line by line explanation of the poem. Aunt Jennifer's Tigers are the three words with which the poem begins. Okay, so Aunt Jennifer, Aunt Jennifer, her identity is already being marked by her relation of being an aunt. Jennifer is her name given given by her family or her parents, and her tigers. So her tigers, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, since there's an apostrophe, so there's a sense of belongingness that she has for the tigers. So the tigers belong to Aunt Jennifer. So if you don't read the latter half of the poem, and if you just look at these three words, you will probably have a different picture of Aunt Jennifer, that Aunt Jennifer probably is a very powerful woman, very independent, because the tigers belong to her, and the tigers are symbolic of freedom, strength, and power. But if you look at the other lines and the following two stanzas, you'll find that it is not what we are thinking Aunt Jennifer is. She's absolutely opposite of what we are, what we are thinking. So what is Aunt Jennifer doing? Aunt Jennifer is sitting with her tapestry and she's actually embroidering. And what is she embroidering? She's embroidering tigers. So Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. So she's using her tapestry and she's embroidering tigers. And what is the kind of posture, what posture is she projecting of the tigers? They're in a they're prancing. Prance means taking a long step or a long jump, and the tigers are symbolic of strength and freedom, as I told you. So they are prancing. That means they're they're in an active state of mind. They're very ferocious. They are displaying strength, and they are ready to prance. Probably they are ready to attack, and they are in a mode to display their courage. So she is embroidering tigers that are prancing across a screen. Line 2 is very visually, very visually descriptive. Bright topaz, denizens of a world of green. So the tigers are bright in color. This is line. The second line describes the tigers. They are bright in color. Topaz is a semi-precious precious stone, which is yellowish orangish in color. It is again very royal in color. So these tigers are yellowish orangish in color. They're looking very bright. They're denizens. Denizens means they're rulers. They're rulers. They are occupants of a world of green. Green again is symbolic of freedom. It is symbolic of it is in literature. It is symbolic of freedom. It is symbolic of rebirth. Aunt Jennifer is embroidering tigers which are prancing, and these tigers, they are bright and beautiful, and they are the rulers of the world of green. They're rulers of the forest. They're rulers of a world that belongs to them. So the tigers are again very symbolic of courage. They are symbolic of extreme power and freedom that they possess. And remember, these tigers belong to Aunt Jennifer, because she's the one who's creating them. So she's the one who's having power at the moment, because she's the one who's embroidering these tigers. They do not fear. They refers to the tigers. The tigers, okay? They do not fear the men beneath the tree. So these tigers, they are not fearful. They don't fear, the man who is standing beneath the tree. The man, and look at it. It is plural. The men. They're probably the men are standing, observing the beauty and the extreme, power of the tigers, or probably the men are standing beneath to probably hunt the tigers down. But in any case, the tigers do not fear the men who are standing beneath the tree. So unlike Aunt Jennifer, these tigers are free. These tigers are free to rule their world, and they're not fearful at all. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. They're pacing, they're moving with strength, with agility. They're sleek, they're agile, they are poised, and they're moving in a very chivalric manner, in a very courteous manner. Chivalry comes from the word chivalry, and it is an ancient. It was used for the ancient knights, and it means the courteous way to treat, women. Over here, it means that the tigers possess that kind of courteousness, and there's a kind of certainty in their movement. They're very certain. So that means they are confident in whatever they are doing. So look at stanza. If you give an overall view to the first stanza, the first stanza is optimistic. It reflects power. It reflects freedom. It since the symbol of tigers being used here, so it is symbolic again of bravery. It is symbolic of decision making. and it is more optimistic in nature. But when you will move on to the next two stanzas, you'll see a remarkable shift in the mood of the poet. Aunt Jennifer's fingers. So now the focus is on Aunt Jennifer's fingers, fluttering through her wool. So Aunt Jennifer, as she is embroidering, her fingers are fluttering. So one's fingers would flutter, would shiver when someone is unhappy, sad, terrified, and nervous. It's not a very happy expression. So her fingers are fluttering, shivering through her wool as she is. It's difficult for her to actually, embroider because her fingers are fluttering. Find even the ivory needle hard to pull. She finds the ivory needle, with which she is, embroidering, very, very hard to pull. So the ivory needle, which is a featherlight, it is made of ivory. Ivory is, we get ivory from the elephant's trunk, and it is supposed to be a luxury item. Of course, it's banned, but it is supposed to be a luxury item, and it is also again symbolic of the fact that she probably belongs to the higher class, the upper classes. Probably she belongs to the rich class, but there is some kind of an emotional baggage that she is carrying, and it is forcing her down. It is pulling her down, and she finds the ivory needle, even the featherlight ivory needle, very, very hard to pull. The massive weight, the next two lines, will tell us the reason behind Aunt Jennifer's, terrified condition, a condition in which is symbolic of her being very, very suffocated, unhappy, and she looks very, very burdened. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band. Focus and emphasis should be laid on massive. That means something that is very, very huge, difficult to contain. So very, very massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. So the massive weight of Aunt Jennifer's wedding band, Uncle's wedding band that she's wearing. So wedding band is symbolic of her marriage. So now we know that the reason of her being terrified, her being so burdened, is the marriage. So again, it is hinting towards a marriage which is suffocating, where she is the oppressor. She is the one who's being oppressed by her oppressor, who is, her very own husband. Sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. So Uncle's wedding band. Here Uncle is the oppressor, and his wedding band sits so heavily upon her hand that it's difficult for her to pull the ivory needle. It is difficult for her to be creative. It is difficult for her to do what she wants to do. It is very, very difficult for Aunt Jennifer to be what she wants to be. So that is the emotional baggage. That is the force that is actually pulling her down. Moving on to stanza 3. When Aunt is dead. So stanza 3 tells you the future, what is to come. Her terrified hands will lie still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. So when Aunt is dead, when Aunt Jennifer is no more, so it's a very it's a very dark. It's dark. It's sad. The third stanza. It is more bleak. It has a darker shade. When Aunt is dead, so her terrified hands, will still be ringed. Will still be caged and be trapped by this marriage. She will still not be able to disengage herself with the identity of being married to this man who was her, or, who was an oppressor. Her ordeal, means her long story of being mastered by, her husband, will be told to the people by the wedding band that she is, wearing. Uh, the hands, are important for you to note how the hands have been used. In stanza 1, she is in the tapestry, she's creating something very powerful. It is optimistic. In stanza 2, her hands are terrified. They're symbolic of a very a marriage which is absolutely suffocating, and a marriage which does not give her any freedom for creativity. It is she's devoid of power, she's devoid of strength, she's devoid of courage. So hence she's nervous, her hands are fluttering, and the emotional baggage of this wedding is so massive that it is difficult for her to pull through in life. Stanza 3 is more grimmer. It talks about what is to come, that even when she is dead, her the ring, the wedding band shall tell her story of being, oppressed. Look at the word still. Look at the two words in the third stanza, second line. Terrified hand will still lie ringed. Ringed. If you have looked at a circus, the animals who are under the circle, inside that circle, they are mastered, and they have to do what their master tells them to do, and they have to stay inside that ring. So this ring that she's wearing is also constraining. It restrains her. It sets limits and boundaries for her, which is actually suffocating. It is and it is like a burden that she is carrying, and that she shall carry even when she is no more, when she is dead. The tigers in the panel, but there is optimism in the last two lines. The tigers in the panel that she has created, the absolutely fearless, courageous, independent tigers that she has made, will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Her creativity, her creation shall still remain mortal. Aunt Jennifer is mortal, but she has created immortal tigers. Creativity is immortal. What she has created has given her that kind of space in which she probably, through the tigers, she presented her own desire. So she pines and craves for the quality she has given to her tigers. Her creation still remain untouched. Her tigers, no matter how hard the situation was for Aunt Jennifer, her tigers still remain unafraid and courageous. They will still go on prancing, proud and unafraid. So creativity and her imagination shall remain untouched, and uncle shall have no power on what she has created. So if you look at the three stanzas, you'll find there are three shifts that happen. Stanza 1 is more optimistic in nature, and it projects the symbols. It's more visually descriptive, and it gives a beautiful descriptions of the tigers. Stanza 2 tells the present situation of Aunt Jennifer, and it reflects upon the oppressive marriage that she is into. The third stanza tells what is to come, and by the time the last two lines fall in line, there is some kind of optimism. So if you look at the poem, the first two lines are more optimistic, more powerful in nature, and the last two lines are similar. So we came back to where we had begun. So the poem comes a full circle. It begins with optimism and power, and it ends with that. It again, reaffirms that her creativity, is her only, power, and any social construct, or any oppressor will have no hand in it, will not be able to change it or master it. It will be her own, her own creation. It will be her own power. Now, Adrienne Rich, said that, she said that poems are like dreams, and in them you put what you don't know. So could it be that tigers are likewise dream elements? Is it that tigers are her closest desires? Is it that she wants to possess these qualities? I feel yes, she does want to possess those qualities that she has, given to her tigers. She wants to be free. She wants to be bright, creative, imaginative, and she wants to be, in power. She wants to make decisions. She wants to have that kind of certainty. But the marriage that she is trapped in, the oppressor who masters her, does not allow that. Does not allow. That is the kind of situation she is in, and she's not able to usurp that. She's not able to empower herself. So the only way in which she is expressing herself, and her most, her hidden desire, her deepest desire, is through this creation, through the creation of these, unafraid and proud tigers that she is, creating in that she's creating for herself. So that's the detailed analysis of Aunt Jennifer's Tigers for you. If you look at the structure of the poem, it is divided into 3 stanzas, and very clearly the rhyme scheme is very clear. It is A A B B C C. It's very evident. There are there are literary devices which Adrienne Rich uses to magnify the concept of the poem. So she uses alliteration. Alliteration is being used. So alliteration, I'm sure you're aware of. It is occurrence of same letters or sound at the beginning of closely connected words. So fingers fluttering, F and F, prancing, proud, and again PN, P. If you move on to the next the literary device that is being used, it is irony. Irony is being used. A meek, a very feeble, highly oppressed and subdued woman is creating something which is absolutely a foil to her own personality. The tigers, they're unafraid, they are unstoppable, they are symbolic of freedom, they are rulers, but they possess qualities that Aunt Jennifer does not possess at all. Probably she dreams of those kind of qualities and those kind of powers. So there's use of irony, there is use of alliteration. When I said that, when you read the first stanza, it is more visually descriptive, and you can actually the image of the bright topaz tigers, it just flashes onto your mind. So that is use of imagery, right? And there's new figure of speech which I'm introducing you to. It is synecdoche. So you should just take that down. It is spelled with an S in the beginning, and then SYNEC. So that is Synec, SYNEC. Then doche is D-O-C-H-E, so synecdoche. And it is a figure of speech in which a part is made to represent the whole. Like, for example, England lost by 5 wickets. So it's England hasn't lost, you know. The cricket team, England's cricket team, which consists of those 11 men, they have lost. It's not uh, all the people in England, they have not lost. So a part is being used to, represent the whole. Like, for example, the terrified hands. The terrified hands tell us that Aunt Jennifer is terrified. She's trapped. She's trapped in a marriage which is absolutely suffocating. It sets it's constraining. It sets limitations and boundaries for her, and she's not able to do what she wants to do. It is very, very oppressing, and her uncle, her husband, is absolutely like an oppressor. So a part is being used to talk about the whole. And these devices are being used in a very beautiful manner to make the poem even more to make the poem even more realistic in nature, and in terms of literature, it is very appealing. It is just of 3 stanzas, but the impact that it has on its readers, it's remarkable. Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, I'm sure you must have enjoyed it, and it's something that each one of us can relate to. You'll find the concepts that she's bringing in, the instance of Aunt Jennifer, the kind of marriage she's trapped in, and how she struggles for power, struggles for identity through the poem, is very evident in in the world we are living in. So literature is very relatable, though Adrienne Rich writes in 1951, but see how relevant it is even even today, how women are still fighting for equal rights, and still there is this kind of gender discrimination replete in our society. uh, you know when you talk of literature and women, why I said in the beginning that Adrienne Rich is very remarkable and being renowned, because women writers had a big time struggle, to establish their identities as writers. One, they were not acceptable, and their work was not even people thought that their work should not be even given any read or any space in the literary canon. You all know Jane Austen, but do you know that Jane Austen, uh, she used to write, she did not disclose her identity as a female. She used to write under the name, she used to sign as a man. Nobody knew that it is Jane Austen till the time, she was finally given that kind of importance and that kind of platform by a few writers. So that was the kind of struggle that women writers had. And if you compare their literature, you will find that their literature is emotional, it is realistic, it is relatable, and it is very symbolic in nature. So whenever you find time and read Adrienne Rich's Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, there will be a lot of questions that you will have in your mind, and you'll be able to provide new dimensions to the poem, and you'll interpret it in a more in a more magnified manner. If you liked the poem, and that I'm sure you would have, and if you want to read more poems by Adrienne Rich, you can Google it down. You can read a few, which are written on similar lines. Uh, you can read Burning Oneself Out. You can read Diving into the Wreck. You can read Final Notions. These are also interesting poems to look at. So that is for today, and I want you to look at the the questions that are given at the back of the chapter in Flamingo itself. Do try to give it a try. Form your answers, and do put in your ideas and your understanding of the poem, and start forming answers. And I'm sure you will ensure that you use your time widely and do a lot of reading at home. Okay, because this time is precious and you must use it judiciously. Okay, so that is for today. See you. Stay safe and stay healthy.